Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with not WinNow, but Winlator. And this is actually a fork of Winlator called Winlator Cmod. And Winlator Cmod just got a brand new update that I think a lot of people will be excited about. So at the time of filming, Winlator Cmod version 13 is the latest update, and this one's called The Controller Revolution is Here. They go on to say, the wait is over. After months of work, the next major evolution of Winlator Cmod has arrived. I teased that a controller revolution was coming, but the reality is so much bigger. This isn't just an update, it's a top-to-bottom overhaul focused on bringing a native, seamless gaming experience to your device. So as for the big thing here, you can probably guess it, native gamepad support. They say the old methods are gone, sorta, replaced by a completely new from-the-ground-up controller implementation built on a native SDL2 backend. Native X input and D input support. No more switching settings per game. Controllers are now treated like real controllers. If it works on a PC, it should just work here. Multiplayer, up to 4 players. You heard that right. Connect up to 4 controllers and they will be properly recognized as players 1, 2, 3, and 4. Vibration rumble. Feel the action with full haptic feedback support. It can be toggled on or off. Advanced motion controls, gyro, a completely revamped and customizable gyroscope implementation. Map it to the left or the right stick, fine-tune sensitivity, dead zone and smoothing, and set an activation button. And if you're wondering if there's more, there most certainly is. So they've got turbo and macros, set up auto fire for any buttons, including triggers for each of your controllers. Virtual gamepad enhancements. The on-screen controls are now more responsive than ever, with reactive visual feedback to show you when a button is pressed. On top of that, there's been some hefty improvements to audio. They say introducing ALSA Reflector, a new optional audio driver that creates a virtual unbreakable audio sync. It provides stable back pressure to whine, completely immune to Android's device changes. And seamless recovery. Real audio is mirrored to your hardware. If the connection breaks, the playback stream is automatically rebuilt in the background without interrupting the game's audio flow. On top of that, because yes, there's even more, core system and Proton enhancements, Winlator Cmod now uses native Bionic libraries. There's been some UI updates, there's been some fixes, and even more. This is a pretty massive release. If you are interested in this and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. And speaking about exciting stuff, next up we're talking about PCSX2 on Android, well, unofficially, with PCSX2 ARM64. Now, we talked about this one in the past when it was announced. Trixarian, who you may know as one of the people behind NetherSX2, has decided to see if they can actually port PCSX2 to Android. Now, there are some things worth pointing out. First and foremost here, AetherSX2 is basically PCSX2 on Android. However, AetherSX2 is partially closed source, and the developer has completely abandoned the project. NetherSX2 is a patch for AetherSX2 and it tries to make things better. But improving AetherSX2 at its core is incredibly difficult considering it is partially closed source. So PCSX2 ARM64 here seems to be trying to rectify all of that and creating a true PCSX2 version on Android that's completely open source. And secondly, it's worth pointing out here that this is something to be very patient with. This project will probably take quite a bit of time to get anywhere near AetherSX2's level. And they say here PCSX2 Android project, EE recompiler x86 to ARM64. It is still unfinished because I made it while studying due to my lack of experience with assembler. I think it would be good to look at it for reference. Now, I believe we've talked about this one once or twice on this channel, and there is a video, and I can drop it in the description below as well if you wanted to check it out and see it in action. And this video is from about a month or so ago. And taking a look at the GitHub page, and we can see development on this one is pretty active. They have quite a few releases. In fact, the latest release is a pre-alpha build from yesterday. and the APK is available to test out. It's also worth pointing out here that Trixarian is not the main or only person behind PCSX2 ARM64. If we take a look at GitHub here, we can even see that this is forked from Ponto's 2024 PCSX2 ARM64. This is the main repository. There are no builds hosted here. However, Trixarian has forked the project and made some test builds based on this released code. Overall, I would say this is a very interesting project, and I'm very curious to see where it heads moving forward. The fact that it's open source and not partially closed source like Bather SX2, I would say is very good for the emulation community. And continuing to talk about Android stuff and interesting stuff and stuff that's coming along. Next up here, we're talking about Mali GPUs and GTA 5. And check out this post over on Reddit, Emulation on Android. GTA 5 running 45 plus FPS on Mali GPU. It's finally happening. Now this emulation performance improvement is happening through GameHub. And we talked about this one a few days back when I guess GameSir here is collaborating with MediaTek to help out drivers and performance specifically for Mali GPUs. So the poster of this one says here, "Hey folks, I just tested the latest version of GameHub on my Poco X6 Pro Dimensity 8300 Ultra Mali GPU. And I'm honestly blown away. Legacy GTA 5 is running at 45 to 50 FPS on 1280 by 720 resolution with high graphics settings. Even during explosions and heavy traffic, it rarely dips below 30 FPS. If this is true, because sometimes stuff on Reddit is completely not true, but sometimes stuff on Reddit is true, so I don't have a MediaTek 8300 to test here. If you do, let me know your thoughts, but if this is true, I would say this is a huge win for Mali users. And I'm hoping, doubting, but I'm hoping here that this stuff will be open sourced eventually. And speaking about being hopeful but doubting, next up here we're talking about the Online Safety Act, the UK, and also VPNs. And this one is being talked about quite a bit in a few different places. Here's one of them. This is just speculation at this point in time, but the writing seems to be ready to be put on the wall. And if it becomes law in the UK, there's a chance it could become law in other places as well. And that may send the world of VPNs into a tailspin in terms of legality. It may outlaw VPNs outright, maybe unless you're a company or something like that. But anyways here, it appears that there is a surge in VPN use as the Online Safety Act has come into practice in the UK. So the quote here is as follows: "Just a few minutes after the Online Safety Act went into effect last night, Proton VPN signups originating in the UK surged by more than 1,400%. Now the whole use of VPNs to get around stuff like this is obviously posing a possible problem for the UK. And banning VPNs has been talked about a little bit here. And there's reporting on both sides of the fence here. And this article kind of has that. I mean, the article is titled, "Labour Rules Out VPN Ban in UK, but Issues Warning to UK Households." However, towards the bottom of the article, there is a very alarming quote that a lot of people are paying attention to. So here's the quote that's being talked about. "My new Clause 54 would require the Secretary of State to publish within 6 months of the bill's passage a report on the effect of VPN use on Ofcom's ability to enforce the requirements under Clause 112 or 112 or whatever. If VPNs cause significant issues, the government must identify those issues and find solutions rather than avoiding difficult problems." And here's a couple more quotes. "A very concerted 17-year-old who really wants to use a VPN to access a site they shouldn't may well be able to. Individual users can use VPNs. Nothing in the Act blocks it. And the use of VPNs exposes a serious weakness in the Online Safety Act's armory." However, to muddy the waters a little bit, here's a couple of more quotes on the other side of things. Someone says the government is not considering a VPN ban, and that there were far more people who were actually there to prove their age in a legitimate way. So you will find a small number of people who will use VPNs. Most of them will be adults themselves. Now, based on some opinions I've seen online, it appears that this is the section where people have a lot of doubt, based on the earlier language of VPNs being a cause of security issues for the Online Safety Act. I would assume then that VPNs would be heavily investigated as to whether or not they should be legal or illegal, or significantly changed in the UK. On top of that, there has been a petition that surfaced that I think has made a lot of people hopeful. It's called the Repeal the Online Safety Act. And they just want the government to repeal the Online Safety Act. And this one has almost 400,000 signatures. It looks like they were just targeting 100,000. Curious about this one because it needs 100,000 signatures for debate. And if you remember anything about the Stop Killing Games initiative, this one is growing a lot quicker than that did. However, and this is where the doubt comes in that the petition is going to do anything, not for the Stop Killing Games initiative. I mean, that's got its own problems, but that seems to be against corporations as opposed to the government. Anyways here, at least for now. The UK government responds after 350,000 demand Online Safety Act is repealed. And the response brings doubt to the entire situation for the Online Safety Act and also possibly not affecting VPNs. If you are curious for the full response, it's up on the Manchester Evening News page. I'll drop a link in the description below. But apparently here, the government wrote, the government has no plans to repeal the Online Safety Act and is working closely with Ofcom to implement the act as quickly and effectively as possible to enable UK users to benefit from its protections. So there you have it. They're not listening to the voices of the people. They don't seem to care. It seems the Online Safety Act continues to be extremely controversial. And there's even quotes here from Reform UK Party Chairman Zia Yusuf. Again, I don't know anything about UK politics, but they say here it did absolutely nothing to protect children, but worked to suppress freedom of speech and force social media companies to censor anti-government speech. I'm not going to lie, though, I am curious to see what happens moving forward here. And I'm not going to get into the whole parents should be accountable for what their kids are doing debate, but anyways, I'll just leave that can of worm completely closed. Taking a look at this, I am very curious to see if this will affect the current parties in power, their ability to get re-elected, or if this will help them garner support for future elections. Who knows? And on a side note here to that whole situation, to possibly learn more about it or at least hear a different take, listen to Mudahar's video or watch Mudahar's video over at Some Ordinary Gamers. The video is 16 minutes and 42 seconds long, and I think Mudahar has some very good points, especially about what VPNs can be used to do. But moving on from that and continuing to talk about potentially unpopular motions or initiatives, next up here we're talking about WB Games. And it appears that W Games Montreal project is a live service DC comic games. And I'm assuming that some people will see that word live service or that phrase live service and cringe a little bit. I'd recommend checking out the Tech for Gamers article for more information on the matter. And the highlight here is very interesting to me. We have found a job listing that reveals WB Games Montreal is working on a game based on DC Comics utilizing a live service model. It's unlikely that the game will be based on Batman, as Rocksteady is moving forward with its own Batman game. And Warner Brothers continues to pursue the live service path, despite recent failures. I am not going to lie here, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the matter, so let me know in the comments below. But I'm wondering here, if they pursue another live service game and it's a flop, like Suicide Squad was, would that spell the end of WB Games as we know it? WB Games has changed quite a bit over the last little bit, as we've talked about in previous videos, and another failure could be very damning to the company overall. And speaking about possible trouble for companies, next up we're talking about Retroid. And there's been some observations that have surfaced online about their Pocket Flip 2, about the hinges and about hinges cracking. And I would say this is not limited to one or two people. So here's what the post says. I was seeing a lot of posts with the black model of the Flip 2 in these last few days where the hinge started to crack. And I thought that mine is all right. I just checked a few minutes ago and it seems that I already have a baby crack. It's working fine so far, but I am not sure how much it will stay like this. I am glad that I didn't sell my Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, but I love this device. I received my Flip 2 2 months ago and I've been using it almost daily, opening it and closing it quite a few times. What do you suggest? Should I email Retroid even if it's a baby crack? Well, I would say here if it's a baby crack, it's a crack. It's not just a kind of a crack. It is a crack. And yeah, I would say probably emailing Retroid is the smart thing to do to possibly get this addressed. I mean, it's not like the crack is going to heal itself. Anyways here, this is super unfortunate. It does seem like it was heavy use, but it was only a couple of months. Now scrolling down here, and it doesn't seem that this problem is limited to one colorway. It may affect them all. I mean, this is a completely different colorway. And this person says, dang it, I just looked at my GC one, 1 month old, and I saw a fine crack at the bottom corner. Same place. Now on top of that, this person says here, and I think this is worth noting because this might be a potential cause of the issue. I opened up the screen and closed it, and the crack looks wet, which suggests that there is some form of oil in the hinge. It almost looks like I put super glue on there, but I did not. It's wet from whatever is inside. I've seen plenty of situations where oils break down plastic, which kind of makes you wonder what's happening in there. Someone else says, I just noticed mine this morning in the exact same spot, and I baby mine. I'm very curious to see what happens moving forward. Someone sent the email to Retroid, but we haven't heard back just yet. If you got a Retroid Pocket Flip 2, you may want to pay close attention to those hinges, and I'm assuming that Retroid is probably going to evaluate and respond to this issue soon, considering it's affecting more than 1 or 2 devices. And speaking about problematic things, next up we're talking about Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, which is set to release on July 29th. It has not released yet at the time of filming. However, this game may not be very well received. Now, we talked about this game when it was first announced and some gameplay was showcased, and there were some people who thought it looked interesting, and there were a number of people who thought it looked like shovelware. But taking a look at OpenCritic here and reviews so far, well, they've started coming in and they don't seem to be favorable. It's got a 65 top critic average with a 31% critics recommend. So IGN gives it a 4 out of 10. PC Gamer gives it a 67 out of 100. GamesRadar Plus 3 out of 5. Nintendo Life 4 out of 10. DualShockers 5.5 out of 10. You can see that the reviews are not very favorable at all to this game, and I'm very curious to see what Steam reviews are once people get their hands on it. Based on some of the main highlights here, it seems the game is boring. For example, this quote, despite an incredibly promising premise, Tales of the Shire is dreadfully boring and extremely buggy to boot. Great cooking and foraging systems, but not a lot else to keep you busy. So on top of arguably being boring, it seems the game may not have been ready for prime time, may not have been ready to release yet. Because check out this review. The constant crashes and lack of an autosave have put me in quite an anxious state for a cozy game, as I make sure to save before doing anything. While I feel the game has made its way there, it's not quite back again, and needs a bit more time before it's really ready for an adventure. We're going to have to wait and see here for the overall reviews, but I think this may be an example of why I don't normally ever pre-order games. I will make an exception here and there, but extremely, extremely rarely. I wouldn't normally pre-order this game anyway. It's not generally my type of game. But anyways here, let me know your thoughts about Tales of the Shire, if you've pre-ordered it and now if you're wondering about it, or if this was on your wish list and now you're going to be waiting for those reviews and maybe the reviews will change your mind. And continuing to talk about controversial stuff, next up here we're talking about Pokémon TCG Pocket. And, well, Pokemon is in a lawsuit right now against Palworld. This is probably not a good look for Pokemon. Pokemon TCG Pocket, the artist is accused of copying Ho-Oh fan art in the new set. It's a very interesting copy as well. It almost looks like a one-for-one, not just an inspired by. So there's been a tweet that's been picking up steam here, and, well, here is the official artwork of Ho-Oh. And then we'll take a look here. There's the fan art, and there's the fan art beside the official art. And you tell me, do they look similar? I would say absolutely yes. Now, to make matters more interesting, we took a look at 3 images here: the official card, the fan art, and then the fan art beside the card. The second image here is the fan art overlaid on the card. So the card just has been inverted here, and the fan art has been overlaid on top. And yeah, it looks the exact same. Now, one of the replies here, someone asks, did you perchance use a reference for this piece 4 years ago? Because the artist for this card makes some of the best works I've ever seen, and it would be a shame if he plagiarized you. And scrolling down, the artist showed their drawing process where it looks like there was no reference overall, and it seems it was created from scratch. On top of that, there's a reply here that someone did some investigative work, and I think this is a really good theory. Here's what they think happened. In 2021, the fan art was created. In 2022, a bootleg fig maker, PC House, made a fig based on the fan art. And in 2025, there was Pokemon card art of Ho-Oh and used this figure as a reference, this bootleg figure that was based on the fan art. However, even though arguably this is not really a good look for Pokemon, there seems that there may be some legal information that may absolve them. And I say may because I don't know if this would hold up in a court of law. But Justine D points out this legal information is right on their website. So it says here, distribution in any form and any channels now known or in the future of derivative works based on the copyrighted property trademarks, service marks, trade names, and other proprietary property, fan art, of the Pokemon Company International Incorporated, its affiliates and licensors, Pokemon, constitutes a royalty-free, non-exclusive, irrevocable, transferable, sub-licensable, worldwide license from the fan art's creator to Pokemon to use, transmit, copy, modify, and display fan art and its derivatives in any purpose or for any purpose. Furthermore, to really drive that stake home, they say here, no further consideration or compensation of any kind will be given for any fan art. Fan art creator gives up any claims that the use of the fan art violates any of their rights, including moral rights, privacy rights, proprietary rights, publicity rights, rights to credit for material or ideas, or any other right. And finally, they say in no uncertain terms does Pokemon's use of fan art constitute a grant to fan art's creator to use the Pokemon intellectual property or fan art beyond a personal, non-commercial home use. Again, I'm not certain if this would hold up in a court of law, but I highly doubt a fan art creator is going to take Pokemon to court over something like this. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below. And speaking about lawsuits, next up we're talking about Sony, and this one was reported over on Reuters. I think I called it Reuters last time and people in the comments corrected me. So anyways here, Sony sues Tencent for allegedly ripping off Horizon video games. And here is the game in question. I mean, this trailer was from 8 months ago, and I believe we talked about it when it was first unveiled. The Light of Motaram, Motiram. Subscribe to Mr. Sujano. I'm not quite sure on how to correctly pronounce that one. Anyways, here, let me know your thoughts on whether or not you think this one is a clone of the Horizon series. I would say it's eerily similar. And continuing to talk about Sony, next up we're talking about something that was unveiled a while back. We talked about this when it was unveiled, and now it's got a name. The Sony Fight Stick, the wireless Fight Stick, is going to be called the Flex Strike. If you are interested in this one, I'd recommend checking out the features trailer that Sony just released, or PlayStation just released. It can be used wirelessly or wired, and I'd recommend using it wired, but they are saying that the wireless is low latency. It would have to be. The joystick on this one is interesting. They're saying it's a durable, custom-designed digital stick and mechanical switch buttons. So we don't know the brand of the stick. I'm guessing it's custom, so proprietary to Sony here. And the buttons here, very curious as well. I'm going to guess they're proprietary to Sony. On the bottom of this thing, there's a big non-slip pad, and underneath that, I guess it's going to be pretty darn easy to swap out gates, whether you wanted an octo gate or a square gate or a circle gate. No tools are necessary, which I think is really nice. And there is a built-in rechargeable battery. No joke here, I'm very curious to see how this stick is received overall and how it compares and stacks up against some very good fight sticks that are already out there. I think a lot of people may be interested in this one for the PCB. And taking a look at the comments here, and it seems it's relatively well received, and I agree with part of this first comment. It's great to see Sony commit to supporting the FGC, and I would say absolutely yes. I mean, as a huge fan of fighting games myself, and arguably a member of the fighting game community, and someone who loves to see new tech in the space and wants to see more fighting games in general, I think this is a big step forward for the FGC and hopefully a good step forward for PlayStation. I'm hoping that this stick is well executed. And speaking about well executed, next up we're talking about Hollow Knight Silksong. And if you're in Germany between August 20th to the 24th and attending Gamescom, you may want to stop by the Xbox booth, because apparently there's going to be a Hollow Knight Silksong demo available. Now, I'm not going to be in Germany between those dates, but I'm assuming some people will who will be filming it and posting it to YouTube, which I will be very eager to take a look at. On top of that, it may be a great way to first experience the ROG Xbox Ally and the ROG Xbox Ally X. And speaking about handhelds, next up here we're talking about AYANEO, and that looks super awkward on video. Anyways, here AYANEO has unveiled something that a lot of people are talking about, and that is the AYANEO Pocket DS. And they're saying it's the world's first dual-screen Android flip handheld, which I think is beaten by the One X Sugar, which we just took a look at, although the screen is a little bit different. Anyways, here, I guess they've worked with Qualcomm in collaboration on this project. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a specific release date or price on this one. The analog sticks look super interesting. But I will say that this device is, I think it's got a lot of potential, and I'm very curious to see what it's priced at when it's released and also the very specific specs of it. And fortunately, it appears there's going to be multiple colorways. They showcase a yellow version of it as well. I'm not going to lie, it looks super comfortable to hold, and I'm curious to see how everything is implemented, but I am very curious about those joysticks overall, and I'm curious about the performance. I'm curious about the whole device in general. I'm going to assume we're going to know a lot more about the AYANEO Pocket DS very soon. And I'm looking forward to their collaboration with Qualcomm here to see what is produced. And Qualcomm getting really right into the weeds here in terms of handhelds, I think is a really good move forward. And speaking about Android handhelds, next up here we're talking about the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. And Jerry Rig Everything has a brand new durability test up on YouTube that I'd recommend checking out if you are interested in the device. Now, I for one am not overly interested in flip smartphones, but at the same time here, in terms of durability, this is extremely promising. One of the biggest concerns I have is dust and dirt and debris in the hinges. And this one here seems to have found a way to make it extremely durable. Is this enough to convince me to get a flip smartphone? The answer is no, but I mean, at the same time here, if you're interested in one of these and you are worried about the durability, you may want to check out Jerry Rig Everything's video, because this to me is pretty darn good for a foldable smartphone. And speaking about stuff on YouTube, last up here we're talking about an interesting trailer for Super Mario Bros. Remastered. Probably not officially sanctioned by Nintendo, but at the same time here, the widescreen aspect in Super Mario Bros. Here looks really good. This trailer, I would say, looks really good, and the release date for this is in September. If you are interested in learning more about Super Mario Bros. Remastered, I'd recommend checking out that YouTube video. The launch date is September 13th. And they even have a Discord. Now, taking a look at the comments, and you can probably guess what they're about to say. This person, you broke the one rule, never announce a Nintendo fan project before it's done. This person says, 2 reactions, 1 excited, 2 worried. And this person here, the developer of this one, says, don't worry, it's unlikely Nintendo will take this down. We're taking steps to ensure they won't. ROM verification, potential asset extraction. Thank you for all the support regardless. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.